the first time ever, the 10 highest paid CEOs had received more than $100 million in compensation, and 2 of them took home billion-dollar paychecks. $1 billion, and this is per year. This is according to GMI Ratings, that has an annual poll of executive compensation. Now, who are the 2 that took over $1 billion? Mark Zuckerberg is one of them, and Richard Kinder. Now, Richard Kinder, if you've never heard of him, he is CEO of the energy firm Kinder Morgan. So, okay, so that kind of explains it right there. Energy firm, probably dealing with oil, natural gas, coal. Well, not so much coal, but oil and natural gas, all that stuff. So, Zuckerberg. So let's go to Zuckerberg. He was the highest. He topped out at a total compensation package of $2.27 billion. That's $6 million a day. Now, what would you do with how could you possibly spend $6 million a day? You couldn't. That's the whole point. You couldn't spend $6 million a day. And I don't think there's any sort of justification for somebody getting paid that much. I don't know. Call me a socialist or whatever like that. I just don't think people should get paid that much. There's no need. How could Mark Zuckerberg make so much, right? Well, it's not all in cash, obviously. Now, the reason that he made so much is from stock options. Now, recently, Facebook had its IPO, right? Launched its IPO, became a public company, and offered stock. And now, okay, so Mark Zuckerberg's base salary was $500,000. The rest, all those other billions, came from his stock. So, and that's amazing. Now, what we know is that the last couple of years, the stock market has jumped, right? The stock market has done incredibly well. It's rebounded completely. It's actually higher than it was before the crash, right? Now, even though our stock market has recovered, Americans haven't. And that's under the supposed socialist president, right? And I kind of find that hilarious and ironic that, you know, people will point out, oh my God, Obama's socialist. What a communist. When business in the stock market has never done better. But going to how bad Americans, regular people, have done compared to the CEOs, I go to a man named Emmanuel Saez. I don't know if I'm saying that right, so bear with me. And he's a Berkeley economist. Now, he did some research into economic inequality and came up with a statistic that in 2010, 93% of all the pre-tax income gains went to the top 1%. He actually revised that number recently to include 2011, and he came up with the top 1% had actually captured 121% of all pre-tax income gains. Now, how is that possible? How can you gain more than 100% of the gains? 121% of the gains. Well, he explains. In 2010, 2011, the bottom 99% saw a decline in pre-tax income of 0.4%. Now, this negative growth is what, at least theoretically, boosts the 1% share of income gains from 100% to 121%. So not only did they take pretty much all of the gains, yeah, they took all the gains, and everyone else took losses for their gains. Look, that's absolutely disastrous, and that's absolutely amazing. And my favorite line from this study says that, quote, the 1% didn't just gobble up all the recovery during 2010 and 2011, it put the 99% back into recession. And it couldn't be, look, I couldn't agree more with that statement right there. David, you agree?
Yeah, it seems like we have the problem that inequality has been systemically kind of tied into our system of like corporate governance, and it's almost like it seems like it's becoming like a snowball, where it's just getting bigger and bigger. And I would think for the sake of the 1% that someone sometime soon would want to, we've got to do something to like reverse this trend, or it guarantees the hordes will be at the front door tearing the place down because, I mean.
Because this is what happens every time wealth inequality gets so large. There's always some sort of
Sure.
revolution.
Yeah.
And historically, it's historical fact. I mean, it happens every time wealth gets so concentrated at the top and everybody else gets hosed and shafted that the people just get fed up. And it's amazing that I mean, we've seen some movements. Obviously, we've seen Occupy and whatnot, and we've seen movements that are going against that, but nothing on the, nothing really on a massive scale to go against this wealth inequality. I'm just wondering when most of America is going to wake up. And I know a lot of people are aware, but what's really stopping people from finally saying, look, I've had enough. It's time to change the system.
I think the feeling of helplessness, number one, with the feeling that the political system is so wretchedly corrupt and in the hands of moneyed interest, and being overwhelmed themselves with just trying to keep up, day to day, week to week, keep the lights on, keep food in the fridge, keep the kids in clean clothes, on and on down the line, I don't think, it's very, it's easy to become cynical about politics in America and just say, forget this mess. I got better things to spend my time with that aren't as frustrating and.
And of course, you've got diversions like Miley Cyrus and whatnot, just to get people off their economic, the woes of their economic hardship. It's not, look, it's not unsurprising that people will go off and just try to bury themselves into something else, and
Sure.
to really get their minds off how bad it is out there. And you combine that with the feeling of helplessness, and then you've got an apathetic American populace that's just like, I don't know, there's nothing I can do. Well, there is something that you can do, though. You can help get money out of politics, and I think that's
I agree
really
with
the
that.
root of the evil.
That's where it all goes back to.
That's
every
really
problem that you want to change, the roadblock to that change is the money that is already there, blocking a lot of the change that we need.
That's right. You've got the moneyed interests that are saying, no, look, everything's fine. Everything's fine for us. Why would we want to change it? And I have a good example of that. Overall, back to the GMI poll of pay and other forms of compensation for 2,259 U.S. CEOs found an average rise of 8.47% in CEO compensation. While for everyone else, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, median household income adjusted for inflation was $51,017, and that's it was in 2012, unchanged from 2011. Wages for the average household have fallen about 9% from an inflation-adjusted peak of $56,080 in 1999. So, I mean, as the top gets fatter and grows more, the bottom and the middle shrink, and we're still stuck in this trickle-down fantasy over the last 30 years. The average pay package for an S&P 500 CEO, and that's the United States top 500 companies, last year was $13.7 million. For those in charge of S&P small cap companies, it was less than $3.5 million. So, smaller companies, obviously smaller compensation. CEO pay is growing fastest for those at the top. The average rise in compensation for CEOs of the Russell 3000, which represents about 98% of all public U.S. companies, was 8.47%. For the Russell 1000, measuring the top 1,000 companies, it was 15.47%. Wow. While stock options are intended to align the interests of senior executives with its shareholders, the unintended consequence of these grants is often windfall profits that come from small share price increases. And that's according to GMI in this report. And that kind of explains why, as soon as Zuckerberg went public with Facebook, immediately profit exploded, even though it was kind of a shitty IPO.
Mhm.
Because I remember hearing all the problems with that, with the Facebook losing value. But even with the value that it lost, 2.27 billion for a year in executive compensation alone. Like you said, man, nobody is worth that. And a lot of it is, of course, like the fact that they don't have to pay a lot of taxes for one, right?
Mhm.
They can basically hide their money offshore, overseas, and not pay, taxes on it. And another is the fact that we just, we have such a bad ratio of income inequality here in America, and it's because, I think it's partly because of our culture. The greed is good
Sure.
culture.
Well, don't you think there's been, like, in the media, you can go through, like, Business Weeks and different business magazines. We've had like a culture in the media of looking up to the CEO as God. You can go
Yeah,
through all these magazines where they're all slicked up and in their office looking like nobody could ever destroy them and Mr. Successful. When underneath, you take the suit off, they're just mostly hairless relatives of chimps who get up and take a crap every morning like everybody else.
and there's not a lot of things that make them that special too.
No,
And look, in this economy,
media
as I said
creation.
before, you can run your business into the ground and set yourself up with a golden parachute. It's
Hmm.
happened. It's happened before. You can be a complete fuck up, but if you know somebody who knows somebody who's a big businessman, you can get yourself set up with a company, with a Fortune 500 company, run it into the ground, and walk away with billions in profit. You could just pocket it, and then of course you'll never get in trouble because a corporation, corporations are liable and they'll fall and they'll hurt the workers, but the CEO is untouched.
Hmm. Yeah,
And I
he's
think
got
that's
his and
just like the
gone.
biggest travesty of the whole system that we have set up. And now, of course, corporations are people, so now we've got that whole issue to contend with. It's just look, this whole
Yeah,
story pissed me off.
I think it's going
Not
to
the fact
take.
that I'm jealous, and I want to put that out there. It's not that I'm jealous that they make so much, right?
Mhm.
And that's one thing that people like me always get accused of being. Oh, you're just jealous. You wish you made that much money. Well, yeah, I wish I did make more money. That's great. Yeah, I would like to make more money. Yes, but I don't think I'd be worth $2.27 billion. Nobody's worth that, like I mentioned. And it's not that I'm jealous. It's the fact that income inequality hurts people. It hurts lots of people. It hurts America. It just and it's unsustainable. It's absolutely an unsustainable system. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Please leave a comment below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the like button and share with your friends. If you want to see more, go to our channel at youtube.com/TYTNation. And if you really want to support the show, support this channel, go to our fundraising campaign at www.patreon.com/TYTNation. The website is in the description below. Thank you guys, and keep watching.